Hey everyone, welcome to this conversation. We're going to be talking about some stuff that is absolutely necessary to be discussing, and I don't know if I'll be able to what's going to happen to me after I share this stuff because there's been a lot of control going on with social media that has not allowed a lot of this stuff to be put out there. So if you're checking in, please tell me if you're watching this as a replay or you're watching this live. I would love to also tell me where you're checking in from. I always love hearing where my friends are at. And how is everybody's holiday season going so far? In this conversation, I'm going to be sharing some things that some people would think is very controversial. And the reason, so think about what is controversial, right? Controversial is something that is outside of what you believe to be true, right? No value judgment in that at all, right? Like some of the things that I have taken on and used on myself and my clients and students. At one point in my life, I would have thought you were absolutely out of your mind, right? Because I only had a certain model of the world at that time, and because of evidence of myself of what I've gone through, and watching what's happened with my clients, I have all the evidence in the world to believe that what I do literally transforms people's lives, right? On so many levels, right? And think about, like, right now you're breathing and you weren't even thinking about it till I said it. Right now, the reason I say that is because your subconscious, which is your body, like your subconscious is your mind, right? Like, think about. I want you to think about something. This is profound when I learned this, and that is we completely rejuvenate every 7 years. So that means in 7 years, you will not have one cell in your body 7 years from now that you have currently right now. Okay. So think about that. So you will be completely at a molecular, cellular, anatomic level, you will be completely rejuvenated in 7 years. Okay. This is what's interesting. Every 30 days, your skin completely rejuvenates. Okay. So here is a great question to get you to think about, like, what is it that keeps us creating what we create? Our skin completely rejuvenates every 30 days. Then why do we have scars? Why do we have scars, right? If our skin completely rejuvenates every 30 days, why do we still have scars, right? It's because of cell memory, right? And if you open up a cell, 99% of that cell is full of energy, right? It's void, right? But it's full of energy. So when we start looking at emotion is energy in motion, and then we start looking at a book I would highly recommend everybody read. Again, this is another one of those conversations. It's going to rub some things, but there's some things that, like, I got a book that's called Answer Cancer, and if you would like a copy of that, which is a case study of a guy powered up subconscious programmer, had 100 people that were written off by the medical world, like, go home, hire hospice, we can't help you anymore, go make your last days comfortable. That's what qualified them for his case study. Out of 100 patients, he lost 3. Okay, so this is what we're talking about here, right? And so what I want you to think about is go read the book. And if you guys would like a copy of that case study, by all means, DM me and I'll be happy to send you a copy of it. Again, I'm not going to be mentioning things on here because I've been shadow banned so bad on Facebook and Instagram. I don't even want to talk about how I feel about that. But another book that is really, really important to read is The Biology of Belief. Okay. And anything by Dr. Joe Dispenza, because it's been validated within myself. So anybody that's followed me for any amount of time knows that I was in a life-threatening car accident when I was 19 years old, right? I got busted up really bad, fused my neck together, 3 cervicals in my neck, compound fractured femur in 2 places. Like, I got broke up pretty bad. And like, I've been hard on my body throughout my whole life. And so I've been diagnosed with disc degenerating disease, rheumatoid arthritis, like all kinds of things that have to do with skeletal stuff. And today I'm more flexible than I probably have been. Well, when I was in my 20s, mid to late 20s, I was really involved in martial arts. So I really stepped into that. But where I'm at today is I'm still pretty flexible, still pretty movable. And there was a point that they wanted to refuse my neck together. There was a point that they're actually in between my shoulder blades. I've actually fused my spine together because of being a jeweler for as long as I was. And there's been things with that around releasing pain. And then, of course, my back, See, what's really important to understand about this is science. They're evolving. They're evolving. I would encourage everybody. Okay, I can't believe I'm going to share this stuff. This is what I'm sharing with you guys is literally going to like crack a lot of paradigms for you, right? Go watch the Science Delusion TED Talk by Rupert Sheldrake. That TED Talk, it was banned. It was one of the first TED Talks that was actually banned, but it's genius. It is genius what he talks about, because there was this massive shift between science and religion about 300 years ago, 350, 400, 300, 400 years ago, right? And that is when we started evolving into the rationale part of the system, right? It's levels of understanding, fight, that's not people, right? And so science said, you know what, screw it, I'm not waiting, I'm not having faith, I'm not doing the things like it talked about in religion. So that's where science was created. Science wanted to be able to create data to support what it is, that validates what they're saying. So it's the Science Delusion by Rupert, Rupert Sheldrake, Scheldrake. The Science Delusion by Rupert Sheldrake. For those of you that are in the class, I can put it in the messenger as well. It's powerful, right? And so the reason I say that too is because science is understanding what religion has been telling us for a while, right? And I don't like using the word religion just because it's got its own connotations around it, but spirituality, we'll just go with spirituality. Everything is energy, right? Like, so the more you start stepping into that, science calls it energy, spirituality calls it spirit, right? Like just understanding that. And so there's a great book out there called The Biology of Belief, and it talks about epigenetics, right? Rather than, now they're saying that 1 to 3% of who we are as a person is actually genetics, right? The rest of it is epigenetics, which is the environment of the cell. I say all this to say how I healed my body and other things within myself is, one, is what causes disease more than anything else is unhealed emotion, right? Because like I said, I brought up all the diagnosis, all the things that I've gone through. And after I started doing the emotional work, subconscious, deep subconscious stuff, experiential transformation stuff, things like that, and started releasing a lot of these emotions that were inside of me, guess what? I do not have disc degenerating disc disease anymore. I don't have the pain that's in the middle of my back anymore. My spine is still fused, right? My neck, like my neck used to lock up all the time. And I have my neck hasn't locked up in, I don't know, probably 15 years, 10, 15 years. And I've had other students where he used to take 30 pills a day because his neck was fused together because of a motocross wreck, and completely off pills now, right? Like people have their spines wired together, rods up both sides. Like, it's emotional work. Another book I'd recommend everybody read is Healing Your Back Pain by John Sarno. Quantum Healing by Deepak Chopra. Like, there's a lot of books out there that really support what it is that I'm sharing. Because if we do not deal with the trauma that we hold within our body, our subconscious is going to find a way to get our attention, right? And if you look at the number one cause for fatal heart attack after the age of 55 for males is job dissatisfaction, right? So if we are living out of congruency with our true inner self, we are going to break down, right? I have a neck injury from when I was Mickey Disneyland. Totally get it. Yeah, your body is going to communicate to you if you have the discernment and the awareness to understand what your body is really communicating with you, because your subconscious communicates through your body, right? And your subconscious is your mind, which is your body, right? And so paying attention to what's going on, and then we can talk about the different energy centers. Like, there's all kinds of things that really support us if we have the awareness and the sensitivity and the discernment and the environment to allow for things to communicate to us. Like I've had a lot of dental work, right? Well, if you start looking into medicine, you can literally get down to which tooth had a root canal or cavities or whatever, and you can literally see how that child was impacted in the environment that they were raised. Go look up German medicine, meta medicine. And like there, I think it's called German medicine. I have to look that up. It's been a long time since I've looked that up, but they actually have you can purchase a DVD that talks about what they've discovered around how emotions literally impact our lives, right? I've got a book that's that thick that talks about messages from the body. And because your subconscious has a perfect blueprint of health. It has a perfect blueprint of health. Well, then you might ask, well, why does it come up with ease, right? Is because it believes it's a way for it to communicate with you, right? And your subconscious does not filter things positive or negative. Now you're all free from this, and I say this very, very, very intentionally, because in that book that I was telling you about, that case study, your subconscious will literally take your life if that's what it believes you want. Let me repeat that. Your subconscious will literally take your life if that's what it believes you want, because it wants to serve you, and it does not process things negatively or positively, right? If you don't, and so think about some of the programming. How old are you, right? Like that programming right there is you're telling yourself you're getting old, right? It used to be once upon a time, how many years of age are you? But now they've turned it into how old are you, right? And so you like 5 years old, you're 5 years old, right? And so start thinking about I'm 56 years amazing, right? Instead of putting old on the end of it, I'm 56 years amazing, right? And I'm like seasoned, whatever you want to call it, right? Because again, it doesn't understand positive or negative, right? And it's going to serve you. This is super, super, super important. If you're interested in finding out what the book is, send me a DM in Messenger, and I will send you a copy of it. Because yeah, I don't even want to mention the book, because again, I've had so many things shut down because of things that I've said. Like, look what's happened. Like, let's just go back to when somebody had some doctors on the White House parking lot talking about some cures for this thing that we just went through for the last 2 years. Obliterated, shut down, boom, gone. Friends, understand this is the world we're living in, right? And so I'm doing what I can to get back up so that I get out of shadow. I've been shadow banned basically for 2 years. I mean, I used to have hundreds of people on these shows, and it just doesn't happen anymore because I shared some things that they don't want people to know. So if you're interested in finding out what it is, send me a DM and I'll send you a copy of it. But understand that your subconscious is going to serve you the way it believes you want to be served, right? So what does that mean? So if you're exhausted, if you're in a relationship that you're not happy with, and well, I don't even like using the word happy because people put too much emphasis on happy. Relationships are challenging. Relationships can be like going through challenges within a relationship can make it one of the most beautiful things in the world. Right now, again, putting things in context, yes, we're not talking about toxicity or abuse or anything like that, but we're understanding, like, in the breakdown you get to discover new parts about who you are and your partner is and how to manage those things. And it's sticky and crunchy and messy and stuff like that, but it can be beautiful if the two of you are committed to creating what it is that you want to create, right? So if you're in a job that you're not aligned with, then your body is going to come up with things that are going to support you to get your attention, right? So it pain, I would write this down, everybody. This is really, really, really important. Pain is feedback. Pain is feedback. And so is suffering, right? And this is one of my missions too, because I use the Enneagram when I work with my clients, and I use a very what's the word I would use? Very accredited Enneagram. It's the Enneagram Institute, right? Like I love what they've done. And the Enneagram is where the seven deadly sins originated from. Okay. And see, I want to have a conversation around this whole word sin, because as soon as I said that word, it triggers people, right? Why does it trigger people? Because there's unconscious programming around that word, right? And this just happens to be why most evangelical churches are dwindling right now, is because they're not being relevant. They're not looking at how we can expand and change things. They want to keep things in the old box, right? So the word sin literally means to miss the mark. Okay, so some of us have heard that, some of us haven't. But this is what's really, really interesting. The Enneagram Institute change the word, because every Enneagram type has its sin, what they call the sin, when the Enneagram assessment's been around for a couple thousand years, right? And it measures your neuroses, okay? Well, what the Enneagram Institute did is they changed the word, and it's really important to understand this, is that because people think that sin separates us from God. No, it doesn't have to be. I mean, if you think sin separates God from you, you need a bigger God. Like, let's just have that conversation. But it's what sin. It's not that we're punished for sin; we are punished by sin. Okay, but let's go a little bit further than this. Okay, stay with me. This isn't about religion at all. This is actually why I want to have this conversation, because this is what causes us to have dis-ease. Okay, is the Enneagram Institute, what they did is they changed the word of sin to another word. And before I tell you what that word is, when I stepped into becoming a Christian, that's a whole other conversation. Again, this is not about religion at all. It's about a relationship with Christ, a whole other distinction right there. The Passion came out, right? And I remember watching that thing. Like, I was in front seat and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, why do they call this the Passion? Because that doesn't look like my kind of passion, right? And it took me asking a number of people before I found out, like, why they called that movie the Passion. Passion is a Greek word that means to suffer. Okay. So the Enneagram Institute, they switched the word sin to passion, right? So the important thing about the Enneagram types is, if we know what our passion is, then we know what's going to cause us suffering. This is why we have been taught. See, we've been taught that sin separates you from God. No, it is the passion that separates you from God, because it is your consciousness that determines your relationship with God. It is your consciousness. Okay? Because your consciousness determines how you interpret everything, right? And so understanding these different things is, what if you had a feedback mechanism, which is your body. Your body is a phenomenal feedback mechanism, right? And your body is going to tell you, where are you suffering, right? And some of the biggest things that take people out more than anything is inflammation, right? How do we get inflammation? It's because we don't move, right? Friends, we weren't designed to sit. We were not designed to sit. We are supposed to be vertical walking, right? But how many of us sit the majority of the day? Well, what ends up happening is we're not moving things, and it starts creating inflammation. And this is what starts causing things to break down, right? So this is part of how I heal myself, right? Like, some days I'll do 3 hours of meditation, right? And it's just not meditation. It's lots of different things in meditation. But the other part is doing deep breath work, right? Like, I'm just now getting in a place where my breath work sessions are like another dimension. But it's taken me a while to get there. Like, I haven't been consistent with breath work as much as I have with meditation. Like, I've been very devout meditating for probably 5 years. The breath work has been off and on for a couple of years, but I've done some other things that have unlocked some things within myself. So I'm able to get into these different levels of consciousness by doing breath work. And these last 2 breath work sessions I've done have been the most extraordinary breath works I've ever done. And I say this for you, is that one of my mentors, Ken Wilber, totally look him up online. This guy can shut down, and I don't know, Nito. Wow, I haven't heard that in a while. And I don't remember it's an EKG or an EEG or an EGG or whatever it is, but it measures brain frequency. Go look it up on YouTube. He literally flatlines it. He can flatline that. He can flatline his brain waves, right? Like, he is a master meditator. And he said that he was able to achieve a level of state of consciousness where he felt like he was in heaven for 8 days. But it took him decades of meditation to be able to get there, right? And that's what most people, like, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had around meditation. People like, I can't do it. Yes, you can. It's just you're not staying with it long enough for you to get to the place where you believe you can do it, right? Because you're changing something within yourself, right? And the reason meditation is so important. I'll give you the resource that I use. One of them, it's I Awake. The letter I, awake. Great resources. And the thing with meditation is that it drops you into delta, some of them delta, but delta and theta brain frequencies. The reason this is important is because you've heard me say this a bunch of times, 75% of what you access in your life was by the age of 5, right? So you've got to get down into those brain frequencies again to start making it malleable so that it can change the narratives and the experiences that you formed back then, because otherwise it's frozen. It's frozen inside of you and it's very, very, very dense, right? So we've got to use different strategies to start loosening that up so that we can rewrite the programs. This is why meditation is so massively important. Yes, absolutely. If someone's done it, you can do it. And yes, absolutely. And so meditation and journaling and breath work and cold showers, like cold showers is another thing that really sets your autonomic nervous system. You want to start changing it, because what you want to do, this, my good old boy Myron says this all the time, and it's beautiful. Every intention is the catalyst for a disruption. Every intention is the catalyst for a disruption, right? So you getting intentional about what it is that you want to change in 23, it has to cause a disruption, because what you're doing, what you've created in the patterns that you have and your neurological patterns and strategies are all autonomic. By the time you're 35, 95% of our life is automatic. We have the same thoughts, 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts that we had yesterday, unless we start doing this stuff. Like if you put your pant legs on your right leg first, start doing it with your left. If brush your teeth with your right hand, start doing it with your left. Like start doing different things that start changing up the routines within your nervous system. Just think about your subconscious wants to operate efficiently and effectively. Again, doesn't look at a positive or negative, right? So when you start changing different things up, you start loosening up these dense programs that are think about a seed. A seed is planted, and the root system around that seed is just very, very, very dense. But as it expands out more and more and more, it's not as dense, right? So if you're going to transform where the event or the wound or whatever is getting into that seed, you're going to have to loosen up that density, right? And it's going to take more than just, well, I mean, like I can get 0 to 80% real quick. Like one session, I can do a lot of work there, but it's the 80 to 90%, 80 to 92, 93, 94% that makes all the difference, because that's the integration process, right? Like I can disrupt things really, really quick, but it's how do I guide them into integrating the new nervous system in a way that it becomes the new automatic, right? That takes time. That takes commitment. That takes discernment. That takes awareness, right? So that's where, again, like you guys heard me say this, like you guys haven't signed up for this, like the ROI Accelerator Challenge, like the unfortunate thing is, like I've had how many shows talking about this thing, and everybody that's in it's just like their heads are like, their lives are changing, like radically, radically, radically changing. And the thing that happens with people is when they start listening to the news, and all the news wants to do is cause you suffering. That's it. That's all it wants to do, right? Because when you are suffering, passion, when you are suffering, you are in survival mode. And when you are in survival mode, you are easily to manipulate. When you are afraid or you're angry, somebody else is controlling your life, right? What I just said there is super, super important. Friends, understand like 80% of humanity is not even able to distinguish what truth is. Not truth, but understand what is true, right? Those are two different conversations, right? But because they're in fear and anger and guilt and shame and all these different lower levels of consciousness, they're not even able to pop up and go, well, that's not true for me. They're not even there, right? So think about who's doing all the voting. Think about who's making all the noise. Think about all this stuff that's going on. It's done by people that are allowing fear, guilt, shame, and anger to run their lives. Right. So that's why I'm so passionate about the ROI Accelerator Challenge, is to get you to remember who you truly are, to like literally how to rewrite your past. Right. And then the O is to optimize your life in the 6 different domains so that you are clear and understand what it is that you want to do. And your subconscious is going to serve you because now it has clarity. It understands, well, okay, cool. This is what you want me to do. Boom, here we go. Right. And then the I is being able to influence yourself into superhuman states And then out of that, you're able to influence other people to be able to be a part of whatever it is that you want to create. And then I teach you how to create the products, to present, how to speak, how to influence on many different levels. Like, this is my baby, right? This is the best work I've ever put out there. So if you haven't signed up yet, like, I would encourage you to get on the waiting list. I'm going to be doing it again at the end of January. But this is like, I can't change your lives on one little 20-minute live, right? Like, invest in yourself, go join the challenge, and like join everybody else. Their lives are just absolutely being changed, right? And so I want to do everything I can. I want to do everything I can to support people in making 23. Because somebody asked me this, they go, I figured out I value time. It's like, you don't value time. You don't value time. What you value is freedom, right? Like, how much is freedom? Like, and see, here's the other thing that I was watching this, man, it just amazes me on TikTok, because we've all been so conditioned with duality, right? And that means either on or off, black or white, left or red, or left or right, blue or red, good or bad. Like, that's how we've been conditioned to think. And see, what my jam is teaching people how to think, like reprogram them how to think, teaching them how to believe, like all these different things, right? And so this gal says, if you're not 100% convinced, then don't do it. I was like, wow, that is a lot of pressure, right? Like, there's no such thing as 100% guarantee in life. And I believe 2020, if that's anything that somebody should take away from 2020, there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees in life. Like, how many people lost whatever? Like, how many businesses got shut down? Like, there's no guarantees, right? And so to understand what is the anecdote for security, right? Like, I get it. Women like security more, like that. They're more bent that way, and that's cool, right? But what is the anecdote for that? What is the ultimate solution for security? What is the ultimate solution, right? It's the ability to trust yourself that you can create your own economy, right? Because now that doesn't mean that you rely on just you, but it's you being able to trust your ability to go into the darkness. It's your ability to understand that everything has its seasons, right? Like, yeah, I wish I could. I just opened up a whole other conversation in my head that I just had. I don't know, it was about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. And yeah, almost 2 weeks ago, that just absolutely blew my mind. And it's seeing this vision of a leaf when it's dying, and just before it dies, it's at its optimum beauty. And there's this moment where the beauty of that leaf gets so heavy that it peels itself off that branch. And that's that perfect moment that you understand, now we're going into a different season, right? And that leaf hits the ground, and it goes in, and then it goes into hibernation, and all that starts fertilizing and becoming what the nutrients are for the springtime for that tree, right? We're all in seasons in our life, right? And so the more we can prepare for the seasons that are going to come, the more we're going to trust our ability. Because if we don't trust our ability, guess what we're going to be doing? We're going to be reacting. And when we react, we are in survival or desperation mode, right? And it's not a fun place to be. I've been there more times than I care to remember, right? It's just like I've said a million times. It's like when you go to a grocery store hungry, you make very, very, very ineffective choices. Why? Because you're in desperation, you're in survival mode, right? And you're not able to see what is possible, because all you can see is what's in front of you. Like, right here, I got to take care of this right now. You're using a pen light instead of a lantern, right? And that's just how we're set up. We are survival mechanisms, right? So the more we understand this, the more that we can step back and take a breath, drop into our heart, and go, okay, relax. And this is my greatest opportunity, because I tell you what, friends, me relaxing and slowing down is like turning me inside out. I would rather be driving 140 miles an hour down the highway, just like slow down, allow things to happen, right? So looking at what is your opportunity, because your body is going to give you feedback. Your body is going to give you feedback. Like, a lot of back pain is because you feel like you're not supported. Like, think about it. Just, you start thinking about how your body shows up. Like, you start losing eyesight. What is it that you don't want to see? You start losing your hearing. What is it that you don't want to hear? Right? You start getting sore throats. What is it that you're having a challenging saying? Right? Like, you get into this more and more, and it starts. Go look up Louise Hayes, right? She's written a couple books. I can't remember the most popular one, Heal Your Body or something like that. Great, great, great books. Like, but the one that I use is Messages from the Body, which is a whole other level. So, and this is another thing, super important. 30% of when people get sick is from Thanksgiving to the first week of January. Why? Because of stress, because of worry, because of guilt, because of all these feelings, plus all the garbage they eat, right? So take care of yourself. Why do you think the flu shot comes out when they say it comes out, right? Is because everybody starts stressing out. Cortisol is what makes us old. Cortisol is what breaks down our body, right? So be good to yourself. Be good to yourself. Have a happy, happy, Merry Christmas. Whatever it is that you celebrate, I celebrate Christmas. Whatever you celebrate, may it be blessed, may it be magical, may it be filled with love, may it be filled with miracles. May you know to the depths of your soul that divine is integrating magical things to happen within you that only you can experience. And guess what? Divine doesn't get to live through anybody like divine gets to live through you, right? And the more you cherish that, the more you appreciate that, the more you're going to share this with other people, right? So I just wish everyone a Merry Christmas, like a Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas. And for me, yeah, Christ is, that's a whole other conversation that some of you just aren't ready to have yet, but that's okay. I still love you. Right. But understand, happy holidays, happy holidays. This world has been through some stuff these last couple of years. Right. And next year it's going to be a challenging year, right? Like we're just in, we're just in the season that we're in, right? And I want to do everything I can to support as many people as possible. So sign up for the ROI Accelerator Challenge. It'd be the best thing you've ever done. Like seriously, I would not even say that if it wasn't true, right? Like I've got people in here that are watching the show that are part of it, and it's magical what's happened in their life. So everybody, I'm going to sign off. Again, much love. I appreciate all of you spending your valuable time with me. It's always great to have conversations with all of you. And Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next week. And just know that I love you. And if any of you need support over the holidays, over Christmas, whatever, send me a DM. I'll be happy to support you. I'm going to be hanging out by myself on Christmas Day, and I'm going to be supporting people on social media. So if anybody needs any support, by all means, please reach out. I'm here for you. So allow me that blessing. Allow me that opportunity, right? Because it can be a tough time for people. And I want to do what I can to support people. So much love, much love. I love each and every one of you. I appreciate each and every one of you. And Merry Christmas. God bless you. Take care.